Welcome to Split Second. If you want to buy the best sleeves or other Magic-related accessories, head down to Dragon Shield using the affiliate link below. This week we have two special guests with us, from La Casa del Comandante. If you don't know the channel but do know Spanish, go check it out. From gameplay videos to tournament coverage and much more Commander content, they have it all. Comandante himself and Ignazi, mostly known as Tremnek, who recently won Chaos Tournament 4, came around to play a couple of games with us. Tremnek brought a spicy Kadena Morphs deck. Elder is piloting LF Cruz Eruth's Storm, while wanted to retry his Galazet's Approach deck. And Comandante brought his take on Lone's Cryptozoologist, also accompanied by a Kitty. Elder is going first in the second match of recording, and he kept his first 7 with his Steam Vents and Urza Saga for lands, Mox Opal, Mox Ember and Fellor Stone for some ramp, as soon as their requirements are met. Displacer Kitten already at hand for some great value and Final Fortune to finish the deal. Bal also kept his first 7, quite lucky with the view, Island, Flooded Strand and Urza Saga for lands. With a Sol Ring and Talisman of Creativity he can cast his commander on turn 2. Spellseeker can find him Transmute Artifact to search for Thrumming Stone and Pact of Negation for interaction. Comandante also kept his first 7 with the Wooded Foothills and Windswept Heath for lands. Mystic Remora on turn 1 can help get some cards to get the snake going. Wall of Roots and Jaspera Sentinel for ramp, Eternal Witness for recursion, and Endurance is great interaction against Oracles and Breach, which is mostly everything these days, right? Tremnek had to mulligan down to 6, finding a Rejuvenating Springs and a Bayou for lands. Grafdigger's Cage is great versus Lonis Tutors, and Bal's Thrumming Stone as well. Fellor Stone for ramp, and then Stratos Dancer is free with Kadena, and then can counter something almost uncounterable, since no one runs Stifle effects these days. Grim Harrowspecs for some card advantage, and is sent to the bottom Breeding Pool. Ready for the match? Elder starts the game by playing an Urza Saga, entering and gaining its first ability, and he then passes. Bal also plays an Urza Saga of his own, gains its first chapter, and he then casts a Sol Ring. Not yet done, he casts a Talisman of Creativity and passes. Comandante plays a Windswept Heath and cracks it for a Tropical Island. He casts a Mystic Remora and passes. Tremnek plays a Rejuvenating Springs and casts a Grafdigger's Cage. Despite Remora, he's tight on his mana options, so he'd rather play it now. Elder draws and his Saga gains its second ability. He plays an untapped Steam Vents paying 2 life and apologizes to the table as he's about to feed the fish. He starts with a Fellor Stone, triggering Remora and Comandante draws. He then casts a Mox Opal and Comandante draws another one from the fish. Still with Mox Ember at hand, he prefers to pass, hoping that's enough for Comandante to stop paying for Remora. We're back to Bal. He draws and his Saga gains its second ability. He plays an island, and considering Galazeth wouldn't bring much to the table now, he passes, holding mana for a Saga activation. Comandante does pay for the fish to stay, as there is not too much going around still. He plays a Command Tower and casts a Llanowar Elves, proceeding to clean up and discarding a Jaspera Sentinel. Tremnek draws, plays an untapped Watery Grave paying 2 life. He also casts a Fellor Stone, triggering Remora and unable to pay, ending his turn. We're back to Elder. He draws and his Urza Saga gains his third ability, and he floats mana in response. He finds a Senseless Divining Top to play and then casts his commander Eruth Tormented Prophet. It resolves and he follows it with a Mox Ember, triggering the fish and Comandante draws. Before Elder passes the turn, on his end step still, Bal activates Urza Saga to create a construct and proceeds to his turn. He draws and his Urza Saga gains his third ability and he creates another construct in response. He finds a Mox Opal to play, making his constructs currently 5/5s. He plays a Flooded Strand and cracks it for a Volcanic Island. He then casts his commander Galazeth Prismari, entering play and creating a treasure token. So now he proceeds to combat, attacking Tremnek for 6 with his construct and passes. Comandante untaps and finally lets the fish go, having drawn 5 cards for 2 mana. He plays a Wooded Foothills and cracks it for a basic forest. He then casts an Utopia Sprawl on the forest, naming blue, so with Earthcraft and Shrieking Drake he can go crazily infinite. He then casts a Wall of Roots and passes the turn, holding some interaction. Tremnek draws, plays a Bayou and casts his commander, Kadena Slinking Sorcerer. It resolves and he plays his first morph creature paying no mana, entering play and drawing him a card, ending his turn. At his end step, Elder activates the top, looking at the top 3 and rearranging them. Elder untaps and exiles the top 2 cards of his library due to Eruth. He plays the Otawara Soaring City and then casts the Chromox, imprinting a Final Fortune, to some surprise from the table. He then casts the Displacer Kitten and follows that with a Burning Inquiry, triggering the cat to blink his Mox Opal. However, Bal responds with a Flusterstorm and Elder is incapable of paying for everything, so the Inquiry is countered and Mox Opal is blinked. This way, Elder activates Sensei's Top to draw a card. He exiles the top 2 and casts Dramatic Reversal. Displacer Kitten triggers and he blinks Mox Opal, returning to play and floating 1 blue mana before the reversal resolves. He still misses 1 mana to cast his Echo of Aeons, so he just passes. Bal draws and thinks for a moment. While Tremnek is stopping him from winning, Elder is pretty well set already with his board. This way, he plays his Scalding Tarn and then casts his Spell Seeker. It enters and he searches for a Muddle Mixture. He then cracks the Tarn for an island and transmutes the Muddle Mixture to find Dockside Extortionist, which he casts right away, this way creating 7 treasures total. He doesn't need so much mana, but now his constructs hit for 12 each, and he attacks Elder for a whopping 27 damage, also lowering his chances to get a successful Wheel of Misfortune. Elder does take it all and Baal passes. Comandante gets to his turn and casts a Ledger Shredder right away. He then follows it with his commander Lonis Cryptozoologist, triggering the Shredder and discarding an Eternal Witness. He then passes, still holding some interaction. Tremnek draws and casts a free Morph, entering play and triggering Kadena to draw a card. He then casts an Elves of Deep Shadow, triggering Shredder, and Comandante discards a Breeding Pool. Tremnek then casts a Mystic Remora, and Elder responds with a Paid Misstep, triggering his cat to bounce Mox Opal. However, Tremnek wants this badly, so he megamorphs his first morphed creature, which is a Stratos Dancer, triggering to counter the misstep. Without further actions, Tremnek passes. Elder gets to his turn, and due to a Ruth, he exiles the top 2 as he draws. With his full mana available, he now casts Echo of Aeons, triggering Kitty and the Fish. Tremnek draws, and still in response, Baal speaks with the table if he should interact, and Comandante mentions he can deal with Remora, and goes ahead channeling a Boseiju on it. Tremnek finds an Underground Sea, and still in response to the cat, Comandante fires a Baby Rift on Iruth, so the stack finally clears. Everyone draws a new hand of 7, and those are some juicy ones everyone has. Elder now casts his Mox Diamond, triggering the cat to blink Felwar Stone, and Shredder also triggers, and Comandante discards a Wooded Foothills. Elder then discards his Urza Saga. He now casts his Sensei Stop, triggering the cat to blink Felwar Stone, and then follows it with his Lord Drakis, hoping to have blockers for Baal's huge constructs. Baal draws, plays an island, and he could attempt to win now if it weren't for Grafdigger's Cage. He proceeds to combat and sends both constructs towards Tremnek, while Galazeth screams their carries towards Elder. Before blocker steal, Tremnek unmorphs his Grim Haruspex, so he can at least draw some cards from this swing. He chump blocks a construct with the Elves of Deep Shadow, triggering the Haruspex for a card draw. On Baal's second main phase, he casts a Pyromancer's Ascension, that's right. He now follows it with a Dragon's Approach, triggering Shredder, and Comandante discards a Polluted Altar. Elder, however, is fearful for his life, so he responds with his Pact of Negation, triggering Kitty and blinking his Mox Opal. Baal still has another though, and he casts it. This Dragon's Approach triggers the Ascension for a counter. In response, Elder activates his Stop to draw a card, and they all take 3 damage. Baal saves another Dragon's Approach in hand for the next turn, and passes. In the end step though, Comandante casts a Crop Rotation, sacrificing his Command Tower. To no surprise to the table, he finds Gaia's Cradle, and still casts a Whirly Tutor, triggering Shredder and discarding an Otawara. He searches for Kin and Bonded Prodigy. He is not done just yet, and flashes in Screep Ranger, before finally getting to his turn. He draws, plays a Rejuvenating Springs, and with a single land casts an Ashaya Soul of the Wild. It resolves, and he follows that with Kin and Bonded Prodigy, triggering Shredder and discarding a Misty Rainforest. He now starts demonstrating a loop where he taps Llanowar Elves for 2 mana and activates Screep Ranger to return a forest to hand, which is herself due to Ashaya. Note, before jumping to the comments saying this is not possible, we just notice it some moments later. And while Kinnan doesn't double the mana from Llanowar Elves because it is now a land permanent due to Ashaya, the same outcome could be achieved by simply searching for Quirion Ranger instead of Kinnan. Casting Quirion Ranger for 1 green mana, activating itself and tapping Llanowar Elves. To return itself to hand, and recasting it achieves no positive mana, but infinite creature casts and therefore infinite clues with Lonis. We had a previous game played. By the way, comment below if you also want to see it, and Comandante knew Elder had an Aetherflux Reservoir in his deck, so he activates Lonis, targeting him, cracking 100 clues so he can get the reservoir into play under his control. With a few more Quirion Ranger casts, he can now generate enough life to kill the entire table through the Aetherflux Reservoir. GG! Thank you for joining us for today's match, everyone. We hope you enjoyed the pod, and we have another game in store from this recording. If you want to see more Commander-related content in Spanish, go check La Casa del Comandante. Grafdigger's Cage might have not looked like it, but was an MVP, preventing flashback from Echo of Aeons, Balstorming Stone Plan, and any tutors to play Comandante could have. Eventually, Urza Saga being activated twice was putting a clock on some players with huge constructs, and despite the wrong card being chosen, Ashaya-based combos keep taking trophies home. We'd like to start the credits by thanking our current patrons, and especially Izanagi, TJ Rap, Ajimu, Dragonhouse Cat, V, RJ, Heated Chill, Pina, Ricardo, Dragonstake, Katarina, Super Scaldi, Dog, Wyatt, Wicked, Zinan, New Gunsmith, and CJ Wally, our stack breakers. If you want to support us, you can do so by liking this video, subscribing or by becoming a patron yourself. If you want to go through other Commander adventures, click one of the videos on the right. If you want to talk with us about our games or other EDH related matters, join us on Discord. Join us again next week for a new set of Commanders and more decisive plays. See you all then!